Right here tonight, an all-new season of 2020.
And this story couldn't have more twists and turns. A beloved doctor missing, then found dead.
A man with no enemies, but a lot of secrets. An all-new 2020 starts right now.
Dr. Garcia, police department, make yourself known, sir. Here's the master bedroom. Dr. Garcia? Dr. Garcia, Officer Miller.
You've got your gun pulled and you're ready for anything.
He's here.
Just says he's here. Dr. Garcia was deceased on the couch.
Is this real? How could this have happened?
He was the most gentle, kind, wonderful soul you could imagine.
This doctor, this paragon of the community, was found dead in his house.
He's been robbed. He's not just dead, he's been robbed. There were racks and racks that were empty. There was no gold. There was no silver found. I have so many questions about the case and have hardly any answers. You don't know if it's natural causes, if it's self-inflicted, or if someone has murdered him.
My life became a true crime show.
Who is this guy and where is all this money going to? So what is that relationship?
And I said, you can't let that guy go. There's something wrong here. We're on our way to Ketchikan, Alaska, the Rock. To get here, you have to either take a plane or take a boat. And if you take a plane, you still have to take a boat. Because the airport is located on one island and Ketchikan proper is located here. It's beautiful enough that it's a place worth coming to. It's remote enough that it's a place worth escaping the place you came from. And it's also the site of an enduring and deep mystery involving one of this town's most respected and well-regarded citizens. It all began with one out-of-the-blue phone call.
City dispatcher, may I help you?
Hi, I'm trying to do a wellness check on a friend of mine that's in Ketchikan.
Okay, what's his or her name?
Eric Garcia, and I haven't heard from him, so I'm getting worried.
On March 18th of 2017, Ketchikan Police Department, we had a welfare check call come in. This person actually is from the Seattle area. He says he's a friend named Jordan Joplin.
He's the general surgeon there. Just want to make sure that he's okay.
Okay.
We had an officer respond to the doctor's house. What is a welfare check exactly?
Basically, somebody is concerned about somebody's well-being.
Officer Devin Miller had lived in Alaska since he was 3 years old, and on that day in 2017, he was on patrol, and he was sent to Dr. Garcia's house. How often would you be asked to do a welfare check by someone who lived a long ways away?
I gotta tell you, that's the rarity. I responded and drove up to the residence. There was snow on the ground. I could see that there was no tire tracks.
What did you do when you got here?
Checked the house, made sure it was secure. We looked for any kind of footprints. Everything was secure. Lights were on at the house.
Did you try to get into the house on the 18th?
I did check the lock to make sure it was locked.
What did that tell you?
Looked like typical of what somebody does when they go on vacation. After that, I contacted his office.
The police learned that Dr. Garcia's colleagues, they're aware he has plans to be out of town. He's attending a medical conference in Las Vegas. This is a conference he attended every year about this time. It's about a 7 to 10 day trip. So that's that, right?
That's that.
You don't have to get back in touch with the caller.
I do not.
But Dawn Hink, now she manages Dr. Garcia's schedule at the hospital, and she's his very good friend. She's not the one who took that initial call from the police. So officers are unaware that she was getting a little concerned that she hadn't heard from Dr. Garcia.
Dr. Garcia would send me messages probably 20, 30 times a day when he was on vacation. We were in constant contact where he was and how much fun he was having. I had sent him a message and didn't receive anything back at all. So it definitely struck me as odd.
Any questions or worries about Dr. Garcia would be kind of big news here. Ketchikan is a small town, and he's only one of 2 general surgeons for the whole area.
We don't have a lot of doctors here. It's such a small community.
He was often the only one here. He'd have to take care of an awful lot of things that that you might not take care of if he was working in a large metropolitan community.
What kind of surgeries was he doing for the most part?
Any kind of trauma,
Logging accidents.
gallbladders, logging accidents, helicopter crashes. We have tons of different unique situations up here that are unparalleled to anywhere else.
Dr. Garcia had become a beloved presence since moving here to Ketchikan, a town he first discovered the same way so many other people do, on an Alaskan cruise.
So Alaska is an enormous state. There's also a panhandle that comes quite far down. Ketchikan is the southernmost city in that panhandle. So Ketchikan's the first stop for most cruise ships coming north into Alaska, and it's the last stop for cruise ships heading down to the lower 48.
Population of Ketchikan's about 8,000 or so, but that comes with an asterisk, because between the months of April and October, Ketchikan is a cruise ship mecca. Many as 15,000 passengers disembark from these massive boats every single day. What is it like when it's busy here?
Wall-to-wall folks stumbling over each other. It's good for our economy.
They want to see whales, they want to see eagles, they want to see bears, all of which we have. And of course, people come here a lot to catch the fish. We're known for being what we call the salmon capital of the world.
Locals and cruise ship tourists, Dr. Garcia treated them all with the help of Don Hink, who later in mid-March 2017 received a troubling call about Dr. Garcia's whereabouts.
I got a phone call from Dr. Garcia's mother, and she had asked me to please go to the house and see if I could find out, if he was there, because he wasn't responding to anything she was doing, and so I did that. Everything at the house seemed to look pretty normal. The vehicle was not there. We drove past the airport lot, and Eric's truck was there, just as if he was going to be going on a vacation, and so everything seemed okay.
With signs pointing to Dr. Garcia being out of town, the police say they've followed their standard operating procedures.
In order for us to enter a house or to forcibly go inside of the house, we're going to need some kind of an exigent circumstance. In the case of Dr. Garcia, we didn't have those circumstances.
Then, 6 days after that phone call for a wellness check, Jordan Joplin, the friend from Washington State, calls again.
Basically trying to find out if they got a hold of Eric or if because I know that Saturday he was supposed to come here to Washington, which is where I'm at.
Joplin says that Dr. Garcia did not follow through on those plans, and he's still concerned that something is not right.
So what degree does that move the needle?
It really didn't move the needle much at all. I don't know that the information had really changed much.
But the next day, Joplin calls for a third time.
Nobody's heard from him yet. He gave me a house key, and I'm going up there on Monday because I haven't heard anything, and I am very worried. I did talk to a lawyer, and he said that I could talk to you guys, and I can give you guys permission to go in there, but I would have to physically be there. So we're more than welcome to go do that for you.
Yes, Joplin? Yeah, okay.
And on the morning of March 27th, it's Joplin showing up to open Dr. Garcia's front door. But police officers keep him outside the house, where he waits with a concerned Don Hink. What happens over the next 90 seconds or so will set off torrents of emotion and unveil a mystery that's filled with sick twists and shocking turns. The police enter the residence with their guns drawn, and then...
Dr. Garcia! Police Department! Can you make yourself known, sir?
This close friend that had been calling the Ketchikan Police Department for the welfare check of Dr. Garcia, Jordan Joplin, called once again and said that he was just arriving from Seattle.
You had this guy in town who said he had keys to the house, and he wanted you to accompany him.
Yeah, we provide a service, and we were going to provide that service. Sergeant Sheehan and I got there around 9 o'clock in the morning. The house looked the same as when I was there before, so we just waited for Mr. Joplin.
It was kind of a big house for a single guy like Dr. Eric Garcia, but the only in Alaska views must have suited the 58-year-old surgeon who had arrived here 8 years earlier, his latest stop on a journey that began more than 4,000 miles away. Rico.
Which town in Puerto Rico? Was it Ponce, which is the southern side of the island? Our grandmother had a heart defect, so for him to pursue medicine, it was important so that he could help the family. I think he knew that to get his specialty that he wanted to, he was going to have to leave.
After he finished his residency program, he moved to Eagle Pass.
On the Rio Grande, the border between Texas and Mexico, Eagle Pass has about 30,000 residents. So back in the mid-90s, it's an opportunity for a young surgeon like Eric Garcia to do it all.
When you are a general surgeon in a small town, you get to do a lot of things.
Did he like the kind of big fish in a small pond
I believe so. He could be more prominent that way, more involved, would have more impact.
He loved to travel. We travel the world together. We decided to take one of those Alaska cruises that took place in September 2004. That was the first time he went to Ketchikan.
He really liked Ketchikan.
A few years later, a recruit called him to try to get a general surgeon for Ketchikan.
I thought, oh, of all places, Alaska? I mean, that's pretty far away.
Far away for him, indeed. On paper, anyway, Dr. Garcia seemed like a fish out of water.
Dr. Kolach from Juno's on line 1.
We only have one line.
Not unlike Dr. Joel Fleischman, played by Rob Morrow in the 1990s TV series Northern Exposure. But in reality, Dr. Garcia was a huge hit, with co-workers and with the townspeople, too. They admired both his surgical skill and his personal warmth.
I met Dr. Garcia probably a week or so into my work. And he was the most gentle, kind, wonderful soul you could imagine. We were extremely close. He would come over to our house for family and friend gatherings, most holidays.
He was very easy to like. Always pleasant, always fun to be around. You know, sometimes you run into people you like running into them. He was one of those people.
Jackson had sold Dr. Garcia that house, and their bond was a close one. Now, on the morning of March 27th, 2017, he'd be joining his friend Dawn Hink up there. Just minutes after, she and Jordan Joplin arrived at the site to meet the police.
I see 2 vehicles drive up the driveway, and one was a red Ford truck, which I knew Dr. Garcia drove a red Ford truck.
They said he had a red truck. Is this the truck? Wait, pick it up. Yeah. Where'd you find that? Down at the airport.
The officers are recording on body cameras.
Well, let's take a look.
That's Mr. Joplin.
This is Jordan Joplin using his keys to open the front door.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Dr. Garcia! Police department!
What did you expect to find?
An empty home.
Can you make yourself known, sir?
Typical procedure. We'd announce Ketchikan Police Department. Let it be known if you're inside. There was no response.
Dr. Garcia? Dr. Garcia! Officer Miller! Police department!
You've got your gun pulled and you're ready for anything.
It's standard for how we enter a residence. We're worried. We're checking anywhere somebody could hide. We just want to make it sure it is secure. We cleared the first floor and started moving up the stairs to the second floor.
Hello, Dr. Garcia!
That's Sergeant Cheatham in front of me. He reached the top of the stairs and he said that he found the deceased. Dr. Garcia was deceased on the couch. I think my mind just went, this doesn't make sense.
Just outside the front door, it's Sergeant Cheatham who has to break the news to Dr. Garcia's friends.
There's no easy way to put this, but he has passed away.
Jackson had arrived just in time to hear what had happened to his friend Dr. Garcia.
We were all upset. Everyone there, I was probably briefly in shock.
I walked to the opposite side of the house as far away as I could get. Just despair at that point.
Dawn Hink is brokenhearted, undone. She is totally distraught. And Garcia's friend from Washington, Jordan Joplin, says he is hurting physically.
No, I don't blame you. I have heart issues. Okay. You need to Go to the hospital. We can get you to the hospital. If you want to go sit down, go sit down.
Joplin recovers, but as the news spreads around Ketchikan, the entire town goes into shock.
What did you think about when you heard that news?
I guess kind of panic. Not really wanting to believe that. Is this real? How could this have happened?
I didn't believe it at first. No, it can't be. But it was.
Garcia's mother had been worried that he was not returning her calls. Now, from thousands of miles away, Dr. Garcia's brother Saul is calling the Ketchikan police for an update.
My wife and I were in a conference room, and we called. We were both sitting there calling, and I had the officer on speakerphone, and he's telling us this. Your brother was found dead.
The police start trying to figure out what exactly has happened to Dr. Garcia, and they start to learn that the good-hearted doctor actually had some health problems.
Major heart issues, and he was being hospitalized this January.
This year?
This year. They hospitalized him overnight here in Ketchikan.
My first impression is like, oh, maybe, there was an event with his heart to the point that now he passed away.
We can make theories on how we think somebody dies, but we just won't know until we get the autopsy results back from the state medical examiner.
But after police discovered what's behind this locked door, their thinking will totally pivot to matters more criminal. It's a shocking find. This town's revered surgeon, Dr. Eric Garcia, dead on the couch in his home. But how? Ketchikan, Alaska police, they've got a locked door mystery on their hands. A scene that's filled with clues. And right from the start, something about this scene just doesn't smell right.
Coming up the stairs, it smelled like barbecue briquettes.
You're talking like lighter fluid and
yes,
charcoal briquettes?
Exactly. The deck door was wide open, propped open by a pillow, and the barbecue was right there with burnt ash in it.
A lot of people might barbecue on a deck, but not many people would prop the door open with pillows. Did that strike you as something unusual?
Very unusual.
Around the body, there was actually a pill bottle that had Dr. Garcia's name on it. Next to the doctor was a coffee table that was pushed up close to the couch where he was located.
There was an open package of bacon, and there was a partially burned charcoal briquette on the coffee table.
Outside the house, grief continues to wash over the friends of Dr. Garcia. But Bobby Jackson is agitated about something.
This house needs to be secure. Yeah, we'll take care of it. I mean, the alarm needs to be set. What I'm saying is there's stuff in there that needs to be locked up.
And when Devin Miller comes downstairs, Jackson pulls the officer aside.
And he said, there's a storage area underneath the stairs that is locked, and it is got gold and coins and silver in there, and a large collection of collectible alcohol.
Dr. Garcia had hundreds of mostly silver. He had some gold, but he collected gold coins and some of the mint coins. And he had a lot. When I moved him from his rental to Dr. Garcia's new house that he purchased, it sagged the back of my car down. He had so much gold and silver in there.
When did the coin collecting and the collecting in general begin in earnest, from what you can remember?
So we were exposed to that from my dad. He started ordering coins, and it could be gold coins or silver coins. Then he started buying some gold ingots and stuff like that, and silver.
He had many, many watches, probably about 20 high watches. And every time he'd show me one, he would tell me how much it cost. This one was $1,600. This was $2,400. He also bought a lot of hard liquor.
He had this huge liquor collection.
Was he much of a drinker?
He liked his, here or there, but it was mostly for the having these things.
Friends say that he had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gold, silver, and other valuables.
So detectives rushed to open the deadbolt door because They confirmed Dr. Garcia's prized possessions are still in the house.
I contacted Mr. Joplin, and so I had him open the door and looked inside.
There was no gold. There was no silver found. There were racks and racks that were empty.
I did not see a large collection of alcohol or coins or gold or anything. There was 30 or 40 bottles.
I looked in and I said, everything's gone. It's all gone. There was nothing left. I said, he's been robbed. He's not just dead, he's been robbed.
But what's going through your heart at this moment?
Oh, it was just utter disbelief. And then it even became some anger.
According to Bobby Jackson, Dr. Garcia's close friends had wanted to build Dr. Garcia a more secure place for his treasures, but now they were gone. And oddly so, because the storage door had been locked, just like the front door was.
The house was not broken into. There was no forced entry.
There were no outward signs. And with the items missing, it meant we had a major theft.
Detectives were called and asked to come in and help investigate.
But remember, detectives have no idea if any of this is related to Dr. Garcia's death. Because after all, friends said he just loved to give away some of these valuables as gifts to friends, even to patients.
What I've learned about Dr. Garcia through the course of the investigation is that he was very generous and shared things often with those that he loved and was close to. He would share portions of that alcohol collection that he had. He would gift gold coins.
He would buy things for his co-workers, for his friends. He was very generous. Very generous not only with gifts, but with his time and with his service.
I mean, he had no bounds. He just, hey, you like that? Is that cool? Have it, And it's a gold nugget. It's an expensive piece of jewelry. Normal people don't just give to whoever. It struck me as an odd thing. It was like, ooh, that could be bad.
The randomness of it kind of concerned you.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly?
It just throws red flags. You can collect some unsavory people that way.
Perhaps there's a very good reason why virtually all of Dr. Garcia's valuables are gone. Maybe he didn't plan on being on Earth much longer.
Hi, this is Jordan Joplin.
In fact, close friend Jordan Joplin had told police on the phone that he'd feared Garcia might have harmed himself.
I am very worried. He's been missing, and he was contemplating suicide. Nobody's heard from him. His parents, 10 days it's been. Okay.
This is news to friends and family who didn't see any evidence that Dr. Garcia was depressed or suicidal. So as investigators take up this trail of the luxury goods, the question of exactly how Dr. Garcia died becomes even more important. They are now looking at Dr. Garcia's mysterious death in an entirely new light.
Knowing that the missing valuables were gone, it really changes things immensely.
Cops are intrigued enough by what they found here inside the house, but what else is missing might be more mysterious still. Like, what's all that on the wall?
It changes everything.
And away we go.
Sunny Ketchikan.
It looks quite nice today. For police here in Ketchikan, Alaska, like Deputy Chief Eric Mattson, the disappearance of what authorities believe to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in luxury items from the house of Dr. Eric Garcia adds to the mystery in the wake of his sudden and unexplained death.
I have so many questions about the case and have hardly any answers. So it's frustrating not knowing.
And you don't know if it's natural causes, if it's self-inflicted, or if someone has murdered him.
I don't know any of those answers in that moment.
And for cops, there's a big riddle in plain sight, all over the walls of the house. What was all that? All those? They look like bases for multiple smoke detectors.
Every single place that a smoke detector was located or should have been was just the base with the wiring harness sticking out. There was not one smoke detector inside that house. They were all missing.
That struck Garcia's close friends as extremely odd. Dawn Hinks saying she couldn't imagine Dr. Garcia getting up on a ladder to remove those smoke detectors.
And there were other details of how his house was found that day that Dawn says made absolutely no sense. Like that barbecue that was found upstairs reeking of lighter fluid. Well, Dawn says Dr. Garcia was never known to grill. His loved ones describe a man who had difficulty doing anything for himself.
A lot of times they called me his work wife, picking up dry cleaning, making and bringing his lunch.
He is so committed to this career that he's not doing anything else. So his house could be on fire. He has to call somebody else to go, hey, can you check on that fire? Maybe see if you can call the police or something.
Given the circumstances and the mystery surrounding his brother's death, Saul Garcia decides to make his way to Ketchikan just hours after getting the heartbreaking news. He's got questions of his own to answer about his older brother, who, according to Saul, rarely shared with him details of his private life. Do you think he was lonely?
Yes. And the reason for that is after he died, I went to his house.
Alone one night, in the house Dr. Garcia said he loved, his brother Saul is seized by a powerful feeling.
I was by myself, and it was so lonely there. There's no lights outside, it's so quiet, and inside that house, I just felt the loneliness. I just could not imagine him living in there.
So, what might such apparent loneliness have driven Dr. Eric Garcia to do? That question reverberating weeks later when the toxicology results are released, revealing what killed Dr. Garcia, an overdose of morphine. But it's curious because there's no morphine located in Dr. Garcia's home by authorities.
There was no sign of injection, so it had to have been consumed.
So that's noteworthy. Morphine found in his stomach, so that means it was swallowed, not injected. Also, there are traces in his bloodstream of a prescription sedative. Was that the empty bottle by his body? And then there's this. Garcia's blood also had an elevated carbon monoxide level.
The toxicology report revealed a 9% value of carbon monoxide.
Now that is 4 times the normal limit. So this raises the attention of police when you consider all the other aspects of this case that they've learned.
Remember, cops noted a strong smell of lighter fluid in the house, and the upstairs deck door propped open with a charcoal grill placed right at the door.
The deck is on the windward side of the house.
That's the southeast side.
Southeast side of the house.
To Officer Miller, that was one of the oddest details of all, because everyone in town knew. In Ketchikan, you did not mess with the southeast wind.
So no one in Ketchikan who was a resident here, in your view, would ever have barbecued on the southeast side of their house?
Especially on the second floor that's going to get some wind.
So maybe Dr. Garcia didn't know about the wind. I mean, nobody figured him for the barbecue at home type. Or maybe it was somebody else who'd been manning the grill. And then there are those curious items that turn up on the coffee table next to Dr. Garcia. An open package of bacon, a partially burned charcoal briquette. And as they uncovered the body and examined Dr. Garcia, they noted something else.
I could see his left hand was on his abdomen, and there was charcoal on his fingertips that had gone to his white t-shirt.
That CO reading on the toxicology report also making the mystery of the smoke detectors ominous indeed.
I could see that the smoke detectors were removed so that the fumes from the barbecue wouldn't set it off. At this point, I think we suspect there was foul play.
Weeks after Dr. Garcia's passing, Saul Garcia was working remotely from his late brother's home.
Throughout this whole time, I always feel like Eric is very close to me. I always talk to him. I said, Eric, you need to help us. We need to get this thing to a resolution. Are we missing something?
Saul breaks for lunch, and then finds himself strolling a mile or so along the bridge, when suddenly the whole case takes another dramatic and totally unexpected turn.
As I'm walking, I get a ping on my phone, and I pull it out, and as I look at my phone, I notice these white dots down below. I took some pictures with the telephoto lens, and sure enough, those look like the smoke detectors.
Saul immediately calls Ketchikan police. Matson and other officers recover 6 smoke detectors in the woods. Authorities then go back to the house and match the smoke detectors with the 6 empty mounting plates via their serial numbers.
It's looking more and more to police like somebody was trying to get rid of evidence. It looks like somebody may have been involved in Dr. Garcia's death.
The morphine and the combination of the drugs, all the items being stolen, it just all started adding up.
In my gut, this death did appear as to what it looked like.
And police continue to dig into the case, the evidence is going to lead them to a very unlikely suspect. Someone you might think was one of the last people who'd ever commit this crime. In the wake of the death of Eric Garcia, the community of Ketchikan is struggling with the loss of their beloved doctor. And as one of only 2 general surgeons in the area, the death of Dr. Garcia causes a medical crisis.
Dr. Garcia's death impacted the community greatly. There were a variety of patients that required his care. And with his specialty as a general surgeon, people just weren't going to get that from him anymore.
It was a big blow to the community. We really needed another surgeon, so we scrambled for a while to continue surgical coverage.
Meanwhile, the probe in Dr. Eric Garcia's mysterious death, it's become a criminal investigation. Amid the toxicology results, the missing valuables, that strangely placed barbecue grill, and the absent smoke detectors, it's looking like someone might have had a hand in Dr. Garcia's death.
In my gut, this death wasn't what it was as it had appeared.
To unravel that mystery, cops dig deep, and they're looking into every aspect of Garcia's life, including his financial records.
You want bank records to show where he got accounts and what banks?
And they make a startling discovery.
Garcia had made wire transfers to several people, including someone named Logan Cruz.
Where's all this money going to? Who is Logan Cruz?
Turns out police have a pretty good idea of who Logan Cruz is.
Nobody's heard from him yet.
And what's your name?
My name's Logan. My real name is Jordan Joplin, but everybody calls me Logan. Sorry.
The caller uses 2 different names, and we didn't find out till later what that was about.
Some of Dr. Garcia's friends had met Jordan Joplin, aka Logan Cruz, but still, he was a bit of an enigma to the people on the scene that day when Garcia's body was discovered. He was clearly close to the doctor. Remember, he drove up in Garcia's red pickup truck that day from the airport, accompanied by a girlfriend.
No one really in town knew him. He doesn't have a history in the town at all.
Joplin's demeanor raises a lot of red flags that morning to investigating officers, as well as Dr. Garcia's friends.
Mr. Jackson informed me that nobody knows who Jordan Joplin is.
To Dr. Garcia's friends, Joplin's behavior seems questionable. But he's also the reason everyone assembled for a welfare check in the first place. Remember, he called the cops. He was raising concerns about Garcia's well-being.
He'd been calling the Ketchikan Police Department for the welfare check of Dr. Garcia.
When police descended on Eric Garcia's home in Ketchikan for a welfare check, it was Jordan Joplin who'd flown up from Washington State with a key to open the residence. And the sight of those keys in his hand, a sight Dawn Hink would never forget.
When he pulled out the keys, I knew there's one set of keys, and he has them. I mean, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
So what is that relationship? Who is this guy?
So we just keep them closed doors and some privacy.
So after finding the doctor deceased, police have a word or two with the out-of-towner.
Okay, how did you guys meet? I'm just curious. Initially at the airport, actually.
Jordan Joplin tells police there's a reason why he's got Dr. Garcia's keys, because Dr. Garcia gave them to him. He also said Dr. Garcia gave him power of attorney.
You said you have power of attorney? I have a paper that you gave me that says power of attorney, but I don't have attorney. Where is it at? It's my house.
When Joplin is asked about the hundreds of thousands in valuables, he has a quick answer. 2 of them, actually. And they contradict each other.
Do you know of any high-value items in the house? No. Anything you think is high? You're obviously... Where do you stay when you're in Ketchikan?
Here.
Okay. And you're not aware of any high-valued items in the house?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I'm asking you about it because...
Oh, yes.
So, you need to be truthful with us.
For police, suspicions about Garcia's mysterious friend, they're really deepening as police continue to dig deep with their investigation.
One day later, with a warrant, they go through that red pickup truck, Garcia's truck, which Joplin had been driving. There in the glove compartment, they find a vital clue.
In the truck, we found a receipt, a waybill,
from a barge company that transports goods all through Alaska along the coast down to the state of Washington.
When we found a receipt in his truck, for me it was something suspicious was going on.
Ketchikan police officers rush to the local shipping company. They're hoping they can find out exactly what is being shipped out of state.
Detective Purcell and I went to investigate to try and get some kind of video.
And what police would spot on surveillance video would take investigators far away from Ketchikan and into the lower 48 on a ticking clock search, and the man might be a murderer. But when the private becomes public, deep secrets will be revealed, shocking the people of Ketchikan.
He's told me that he wanted to commit suicide, so I'm getting worried.
This doesn't make sense.
Just despairing.
Bizarre.
This doctor was found dead in his house. For a city like Ketchikan, this infiltrated the entire community. Everyone was talking about it.
My life became a true crime show.
Police are now looking into every single aspect of Dr. Garcia's life.
Do you think there were aspects of his private life that he thought would be difficult to share with your family?
Yes.
Business related or nope? Friendship related? I think it's more friendship.
Who exactly is Jordan Joplin? And how did a respected doctor in Alaska become entangled with him?
He was two different people.
He was very good at manipulating. Very good.
How good?
Whatever Jordan wanted, Jordan pretty much got. Honestly.
This crime scene just became massive.
But nothing in this case is more stunning than the chilling video clip that prosecutors play in court.
Oh my God.
Ketchikan, Alaska, as beautiful and remote as an international pop star, inaccessible by car, abundant fish and wildlife and wondrous vistas that delight the thousands of cruise ship tourists in season. Dr. Eric Garcia took a good look during one of those cruises and left Texas to move here. The kind-hearted physician making a lot of friends among the town's 8,000 year-rounders, grateful to have in their midst such a skilled surgeon.
Dr. Garcia! Officer Miller! Police department!
But March of 2017, there's trouble in paradise. Big trouble. When cops find the beloved Dr. Garcia dead in his home.
He was just the nicest man.
Everybody knew him. Everyone wanted to say hello.
What a nice guy.
Initially, there are questions about his death. Could it be suicide, a heart attack, or something more sinister?
Even after the autopsy was done, the medical examiner did not find any signs of trauma.
After that, the toxicology report came back and showed he had actually died of a morphine overdose. But the question is, how did that morphine get in his system?
So what or who had taken the life of this trusted physician? And could this scenic hideaway of fewer than 10,000 residents be harboring a murderer? Dr. Garcia's house, a locked door mystery filled with potential clues. A barbecue grill by an open door, a charcoal briquette on a table, missing smoke detectors discovered tossed into nearby woods. Precious items of value that should be here, but aren't anymore.
Is your sense that whatever is missing from the house is directly connected to the death of Dr. Garcia?
I don't know that we knew that it was directly related to the death.
But remember that shipping receipt the cops found inside Dr. Garcia's truck? It's a potentially huge clue.
It's that right there.
Yes, sir. This is a close-up of that receipt from AML, Alaska Marine Lines. It's a barge company that ships products to and from Ketchikan. Essentially, it was a receipt that was in the name of Jordan Joplin, listing the doctor's address as a shipper address to Jordan Joplin in Maple Valley, Washington. The container weight was total about 4,400 pounds.
2 tons of stuff from Dr. Garcia's place, headed to the lower 48? Really? Cops need to know more about that shipment's stat, and if the often generous Dr. Garcia knew anything about it. Another discovery starts to offer some answers.
I did locate a Walmart receipt that was in the garbage in the kitchen.
That Walmart receipt listed several items, notably several plastic bins or totes, things that you would store a variety of items in. Just plastic boxes with lids.
Would you have a few questions for you?
Interestingly, Walmart actually was discussed the first time the cops interviewed Jordan Joplin the day Dr. Garcia's body was discovered. As he's asked about his last visit to Ketchikan, Joplin says the two men went to the store together.
Yeah, I think it was 16th is when I used his truck.
Okay, because you have to return the truck to him.
Well, he was so we went to Walmart.
So the police follow up. They come here to the only Walmart in Ketchikan, and what they find on the store's surveillance security camera marks a big moment in this investigation.
What you see is Jordan Joplin moving about Walmart from various different angles.
Walmart has an enormous amount of cameras, and essentially we followed him through the store.
It shows him from the side, it shows him from above. It just shows Jordan Joplin checking out with all these stacked plastic bins in his cart. One of the camera angles actually shows Jordan Joplin with a huge grin on his face.
He had an employee from Walmart help him with another cart because he had that many bins. So once all those items were loaded back into the truck, Mr. Joplin got back into the truck and departed the parking lot.
But what you don't see is Dr. Eric Garcia. He's not in a single shot. I mean, in the very first interview, Joplin says that he went with Dr. Garcia to Walmart together, so it shows a lie.
This raises even more questions for authorities about Jordan's shipment at AML, Alaska Marine Lines.
So at the time, Detective Purcell and I went to AML to investigate.
And what are those things that you're expecting to see?
So we're just trying to find out the logistics and where the physical items are at.
That's the point in time where we saw video footage of Dr. Garcia's truck, and then Jordan Joplin going from the vehicle and unloading items.
Detectives now know Jordan Joplin used those plastic crates they saw him buy at Walmart to load something into shipping containers. Bad news, it all happened 10 days earlier.
The containers actually were already gone. They were already on the barge on their way to Seattle.
But now that we realized and found that the property was now in transit, this crime scene just became massive. It went from Ketchikan, Alaska, down to Seattle, Washington.
And what did you know definitively about the stuff you were trying to find?
We didn't know anything.
Whatever is inside those containers, detectives want to get their hands on it before Jordan Joplin does. They take off for Seattle, and the clock is ticking.
I've been involved in a lot of cases, but this one was pretty fast moving. There was definitely a sense of urgency.
The two detectives join their partner, Officer Devin Miller.
It is highly unusual for City of Ketchikan police officers to go to the lower 48.
They are heading to this facility in the port of Seattle. It's a race against time. The discovery of a shipping receipt in Dr. Garcia's truck with Jordan Joplin's name on it leads investigators to a shipping company in Ketchikan. Only there they discover that 2 tons of stuff has already left Alaska. The containers that Joplin has had sent have already arrived here in Seattle. They're at the port. So officers in Ketchikan hop a plane toot sweet.
We were trying to get those containers before anybody else did.
Sergeant Madsen, Detective Purcell, and myself got onto a plane and went to Seattle.
We went to AML on East Marginal Way in Seattle, Washington, and found the containers. They had already been set aside and secured by AML personnel. We cut the locks that were secured on the containers and started to open them.
Oh my God.
There were cases of coins and collectibles, the gold and silver. There were hundreds of bottles. It was a massive collection. These boxes were so full, it almost seemed like they were overspilling when we opened them.
His entire life, his computers, personal checks, bank checks in the name of Dr. Garcia, passport in the name of Dr. Garcia.
Cops now have thousands of dollars of Dr. Garcia's missing stuff, and it's just the beginning. Next up in their plan, place Jordan Joplin under arrest for theft. For this, Ketchikan cops need the able assistance of King County law enforcement.
It's an out-of-state agency. It's their investigation. They've developed the probable cause for the arrest, so they need a local agency with them to both help them make the arrest, draft any search warrants that need to be done.
The Seattle cops want to lure Joplin out of his house so that he can be arrested at And it turns out, according to the shipping company, Joplin has been just itching to take possession of that precious cargo.
We knew that he had been calling. I think he was a manager, and he talked about, this guy's been calling all the time. I'm like, great, well, have him call him back and tell him to come down here.
I gave Jordan a call. He wanted to know if his shipment was in, and I said, no, there's a snafu.
So this was a ruse cooked up to try to get him out of that house and get him in a place where you could get a good look at him, so to speak.
And as sure as the rain in Seattle, Joplin shows up at the appointed time.
We can park here. Just hop out here. I introduced myself. Hey, I'm with the sheriff's office. I need to speak with you. I gotta go talk to these guys. And I stopped him and said, no, you need to stay here. These are detectives from Alaska, to which his response was something along the lines of, I don't want to talk to any of you guys. You can just talk to my attorney. And it's at that point that I said, well, you are under arrest.
He was treating you like the help.
Yeah, he was very dismissive.
With Joplin in custody, it's now time for part B of the plan.
Are you in the lead car as you do this?
Yes, I
would make the drive.
That's executing a search warrant at his residence. But while Joplin is no longer at home, there is someone there to answer the door.
I was his fiance. At first, I looked out our bedroom door. There was a bunch of unmarked cars, police officers with bulletproof vests on, and I'm like completely naked. I'd just gotten out of the shower, and I was like...
For investigators, it's just one of many surprises they're going to uncover with Joplin. Remember, that day he had showed up at Dr. Garcia's house, he was with another woman he identified as his girlfriend.
I did have concerns that he was maybe cheating on me with her, but at that point, I wasn't 100% sure. It wasn't until after our house got raided that I found out, so...
Kristen may have suspected Jordan was cheating, but she was adamant she knew nothing about what had brought this small armada of police to her doorstep.
I stood outside of my house for 6 hours. I took my phone, took all my electronics, because the warrant was on my name as well.
She asked where Jordan was, and I said, well, he's talking to some detectives from Alaska right now. What do you know about Jordan's relationship with Dr. Garcia? What about some of this property that's here?
They were like, we are not interested in you. We are just interested in Jordan.
She was aware of everything coming in from the doctor over a period of time, but according to her, from Jordan, this was all just a gift from the doctor.
I was just trying to process of where I missed these flags.
The women who accompanied Joplin to Ketchikan and Kristen were both cleared by law enforcement. Meanwhile, cops swarm the site, and all the evidence they retrieve is sent to Ketchikan police.
Notably, during that search warrant, detectives had found a Faraday bag that contained the doctor's cell phones. A Faraday bag is essentially an electronic blocking bag or device. Once it's placed in there, it is cut off from that communication and hides the signals. We also found, in another location, Dr. Garcia's wallet with his ID. Jordan Joplin was charged with theft in the first degree.
Joplin would plead not guilty, but really his arrest is just the start of unraveling this mystery. And the more investigators dig into his background, the more they wonder, who exactly is Jordan Joplin? And how did a respected doctor in Alaska become entangled with him?
A mass manipulator.
He was two different people.
Out to get whatever he needs at that moment and then to move on like a tornado.
That police raid in Maple Valley, Washington, during late March 2017, would mark the beginning of what she describes as one big wake-up call for Joplin's fiancée, Kristen Coles Nelson.
My life became a true crime show. When they showed up at my house and they first announced that they were cops and stuff, they say we're the Washington County Sheriff Department, and then the guy behind him said, I am a sheriff from Ketchikan. And I looked at them puzzled. I think I said, does this have to do with Eric? And then they asked me why I thought that, and I was like, well, he just passed away, and I know that he was terminally ill.
But of course, Dr. Eric Garcia was never terminally ill. Kristen says she immediately realized that was just a lie Joplin had told her to explain his increasingly frequent trips to Alaska.
My world turned upside down and inside out. He did have two sides. He had this facade that he put out, that he was a great person and that he didn't like liars, but he was one himself. I didn't know what to believe, what was the truth.
The truth could be a rude awakening for those who knew Jordan Joplin. And as investigators were discovering, Joplin's trouble in Alaska was not his first brush with the law. Jordan Joplin had grown up here in Forks, Washington, the town made famous in the Twilight films.
In the state of Washington, under near constant cover of clouds and rain, there's a small town named Forks. Population, 3,120 people.
Jordan's dream was just to take care of everybody. Aunt Sandy, I'm going to get rich and I'm going to take care of all you.
Sandy Flores and her husband were raising 3 boys in Forks when her younger sister Debbie moved to town after a divorce. Her youngest, Jordan, was just a year and a half.
He was very impulsive, I think is the word to use. Instead of thinking about it, he would just do something. And then go, oh wow, that was fun, let's do it again.
Jordan Joplin was all grown up by the time this young woman encountered him in the summertime of 2010.
He was very high energy, and so that was just, that positivity was kind of infectious.
Jessica Everton met Jordan Joplin in Bonnie Lake, Washington, that's near Tacoma, while they were each working at a food bank that was run by her father. Jessica knew Jordan was there for community service. And here's what the young single mother says she did not know, that it was ordered after he was convicted of 2 felonies, after abandoning his car and then claiming it had been stolen. Investigators became suspicious when they noticed he had filed an insurance claim 3 hours before reporting he'd left the vehicle on the side of the road. Oh, those impulses.
He was very kind. He listened. Once my dad got hurt, Jordan kind of took over what my dad's duties were. Anything that my dad needed, Jordan was on top of doing.
And that's when you started going out with him?
That's essentially, yes. He was intoxicating. He really was. And then he used that to manipulate. He was very good at manipulating. Very good.
Summer ended, and so had Jordan's community service. Joplin telling Jessica he was working as a personal trainer. She never saw any clients. He was, however, spending plenty of time at the gym.
He was an aspiring stripper.
How did he look with his shirt on?
Gorgeous.
Jessica said her relationship with Joplin took a dramatic turn after a Christmas shopping trip in 2010.
We were shopping at Walmart. As we walked out, we got swarmed. They're accusing me of stealing. I'm flabbergasted.
Walmart security accused the couple of shoplifting a number of GPS units from the store.
The police showed up and we were arrested, and we were both placed in the same squad car.
Could you ever have imagined in your life you would end up in the back of a squad car?
No. Or with somebody next to me saying, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me.
The police report noted that Jessica and Jordan said the theft was his idea. They were both charged. And what happened to the charges against you?
They ended up getting deferred because I wanted the whole thing over behind me. I wanted no part of any of it. I said, I'll do my community service. I won't commit this crime again.
Jordan, on the other hand, pled guilty to theft. He received a suspended jail sentence and, you'll never believe this, more community service. But Jessica says Jordan Joplin refused to go quietly into the night.
Jordan's not very nice when he's angry. His text messages and all of that stuff.
And what are those messages saying that you're getting?
At one point it was, if I can't have you, nobody can. And he started threatening my family.
Jessica took action to get Jordan Joplin out of her life.
I get a restraining order against him.
Joplin disputed Jessica's claim in court papers, saying he'd moved on with his life and had a new girlfriend. What happened after you got the restraining order?
He stopped.
But some speak in glowing terms about the Joplin they knew.
I never expected somebody like that to be in my life, you know.
Crescenta Lawrence had hit rock bottom in 2012, she says, before Joplin's attentions pulled her out of a hellish spiral.
Jordan made certain to be there, helped me with the bills when I didn't even ask for it. He babysit the kids so I could go to the hospital. He was an angel. I was just happy to be a piece of furniture in his life. He radiated such energy about him that anybody would want to be around him.
And anybody occasionally meant just about everybody.
He'd have 2-3 girlfriends at the same time, as a matter of fact, in the same truck, showing up at my house. one of the girls, she goes, I don't know what it is, but I can't seem to stay away from him. Later, I had a few connections that I got him into the adult industry. He was a dancer for a while, and then he became a model and an adult entertainer. He was doing movies.
Name's Logan. Here to see the house. So may I have a line? Yes, sir.
Jordan Joplin worked in adult films under the stage name Logan Cruz. Remember, that's the name he used when he made that welfare check call for Dr. Garcia.
My name's Logan. What's your last name? Oh, my real name is Jordan Joplin, but everybody calls me Logan.
So just how did Logan Cruz from Washington State come to cross paths with a surgeon from Alaska?
That was the big question, was the police described him as a close friend, so what is that relationship?
In life, Eric Garcia was able to closely guard his privacy. With his sudden death, that control was gone. As questions are answered, secrets are revealed. Did keeping those secrets cost Dr. Eric Garcia his life? The home of Dr. Eric Garcia in Ketchikan, Alaska, had become a crime scene. But was it just the latest location for the alleged deceit and deceptions of Jordan Joplin? His friends back in Washington State knew Joplin could be a smooth-talking playa, an occasional bad boy, but Dr. Eric Garcia's focus had been on medicine, and that always left little room for any kind of well-rounded life away from the hospital.
I know that he dated when he was young, and mostly I know this from my sister, because my sister actually got more into his business than I did. So I think I left those topics alone.
According to his family, they were left to wonder if Dr. Garcia's lack of experience in dating might have made him easy prey for the alleged manipulations of a Jordan Joplin, especially after a life-changing operation in Seattle kind of opened up a chasm inside the surgeon who had always put his work first. You talked about how you felt this triple bypass was kind of a turning point in his life.
Well, I mean, he kind of fell into a little bit of a depression right after it, which is not uncommon from having cardiac surgery, and he reevaluated his life, and he started also thinking, well, maybe it's time for me to enjoy my life some more.
It was around that time that Joplin was working as a massage therapist in Washington State. Joplin would say Garcia paid $500 the first time he gave him a massage, and that's how their relationship began.
Why do you think he didn't want to talk to people about his relationship with him?
I just think that certain people have a really hard time accepting who they are.
In Ketchikan, with his many patients, the decisions of Dr. Eric Garcia saved lives. With Jordan Joplin, did Eric Garcia's decisions cost the doctor his own life? To all but his closest friends, he never shared intimate details of his private life, not in Alaska and not in his family. Do you think there were aspects of his private life that he thought would be difficult to share with your family?
Yes. I personally suspect that, so I never really questioned him, but certainly it would have been something hard to discuss with my mom or my dad.
Yet among those in Washington who knew Joplin, Eric Garcia was no secret. Amanda Polreich was a close friend of Joplin's. When cops got a tip she had important information about him, they tracked her down in Washington State.
Well, I knew that he was his sugar daddy.
That the doctor was Jordan's sugar daddy?
He would send him money, he would ship him things. Whatever Jordan wanted, Jordan pretty much got, honestly.
There is. Okay.
Inside Garcia's home, police find a letter he received from Joplin.
Friendship related? I think it's more than friendship.
I love you, and I hope you never forget that. The letter from Joplin to Dr. Garcia began, ending with the words, "Love always, Jordan." In the search of Joplin's home in Washington, a card he had received from Eric Garcia with a darkly ironic message.
We located a Valentine's Day card. It was dated February 14, 2017, addressed to Jordan from Eric. I paraphrase what I read in that. "You are my first and only love. Not kidding, you will probably kill me, but no, I will never let you down."
Your brother was Dr. Eric Garcia. He showed great judgment every time he entered an operating room or spoke to a patient. Why did he remain in Joplin's life?
Well, in these types of domestic types of relationship, these things happen where people control somebody else.
As they seek to link Joplin to the morphine, cops are also working to connect Joplin to a detail found in the toxicology report. Remember, Dr. Garcia's elevated levels of carbon monoxide, all that odd barbecue evidence. And that raised the question, was the entire scenario with the charcoal grill staged by Joplin to make it look like Dr. Garcia killed himself via inhaling carbon monoxide from the smoke from the barbecue? And did Joplin remove those smoke detectors to prevent them from going off and alerting authorities?
Cops back to that video of Joplin from Walmart where they knew he bought all those packing crates. Well, the evidence also showed that's not all he bought.
He also bought a bag of charcoal. It was the one other thing other than all these plastic bins that Jordan Joplin purchased that day at Walmart.
There it is. It's listed right on that receipt. So was this Jordan Joplin gathering the elements he needed to make it appear as if a depressed Dr. Garcia wanted to end it all? Then, one more shocking piece of evidence that's found on Jordan Joplin's iPhone. It's evidence that might just seal his fate. In Ketchikan, Alaska, Jordan Joplin sits in jail on a theft charge as authorities are seeking to tie him to the murder of Dr. Eric Garcia.
The results of the autopsy in this case couldn't say whether Dr. Garcia had purposely ingested this morphine or whether someone had given it to him. They could only say what the cause of death was.
There was still the question out there is, where did the morphine come from?
Everything's starting to come together as police learn about that friend of Joplin's, Amanda Polreich. Polreich tells police that she had gotten morphine from a friend whose spouse had been prescribed the medication, and that Joplin had asked her just how much morphine would be fatal.
It was like, if I wanted to be able to just, off myself one day, how much do you think I would need?
Like, how much would it take to either, get high on it or slip away?
Mm-hmm.
When did that conversation happen before the doctor was killed?
I gave it to him way before, months probably.
What Ms. Polreich was able to do was show that Mr. Joplin was the one who procured the morphine to eventually kill Dr. Garcia.
Was there any discussion on how he used the liquid morphine on the doctor?
Nope. He never mentioned anything about what he was doing at all.
Here's the police theory. Joplin gave Garcia that fatal dose of morphine during his March 2017 visit. Then, Joplin left the state and then called in the welfare check so that he would have the perfect alibi.
So Mr. Joplin was charged with murder in the first degree and also theft in the first degree.
Joplin pleads not guilty to all charges.
For a city like Ketchikan, this was just an unheard of crime. And so it really kind of infiltrated the entire community. Everyone was talking about it.
So much so that the case was actually moved from being tried in Ketchikan to being tried in Anchorage.
I tried in my opening statement to present this clear picture of why Mr. Joplin is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of all these charges.
The prosecution methodically lays out before the jury a timeline of what they say is Joplin's involvement in the case. And they bring Amanda Polreich to the stand to put the morphine in his hands before Dr. Garcia's death. They put police on the stand to testify about their investigation.
The fact that when Mr. Joplin called in the fake welfare check, he told them to call Dr. Garcia's cell phone. But he had that cell phone with him in Washington in a Faraday bag was also particularly damning evidence.
But nothing in this case is more stunning than the disturbing video clip obtained by police from Joplin's phone that prosecutors play in court.
On March 17th, 2017, the defendant, Jordan Joplin, took out his cell phone and he took a video of Dr. Eric Garcia, unconscious, gasping for air, and close to death. 10 days later, on March 27th, 2017, Ketchikan police officers found Dr. Garcia dead, in the same position as in the video, wearing the same clothes as he did in the video.
Yet in Joplin's video, there's no charcoal visible on Dr. Garcia's hands, showing, prosecutors say in their summation, all the barbecue stuff happened afterwards, after that fatal dose of morphine.
When it's the defense team's turn, Joplin's attorney says that the prosecution's case is entirely circumstantial and that Dr. Garcia himself administered the morphine that took his life. And as for that video, well, the defense acknowledges that Joplin may not have reacted appropriately, claiming it was out of fear for Dr. Garcia's job, but it doesn't mean he's guilty.
The defense calls Jordan Joplin.
To testify in his own defense, Jordan Joplin takes the stand.
Did you know Dr. Eric Garcia?
Yes, I did.
Did you love him?
Yes.
He characterized it as a romantic relationship.
He's very kind, emotionally supportive.
They offered a number of alternatives for what he said was happening.
And the shipping containers with his belongings? Well, Joplin tells the jury that Dr. Garcia was planning on retiring and moving to Washington.
He was giving me a bunch of stuff, and then also I was under the impression that he either bought a house or was in the process of buying a house. And he was supposed to retire in the spring of 2017.
Prosecutors later say there is no evidence other than Joplin's own word to suggest that Dr. Garcia ever planned on retiring and moving to Washington. Choosing to testify on his own behalf leaves Joplin wide open for cross-examination.
Mr. Joplin, you started to plan killing Dr. Garcia much before March of 2017, right?
I didn't try or kill or plan to kill anybody.
What really stood out was the different stories throughout even his own testimony. You didn't try to wake him up at any point.
I did.
Okay, so that's new today too. When did you do that?
Either sometime on the 17th. I didn't shake him really hard because I wasn't trying to startle him. But he seemed to be sleeping hard, so I just left him alone.
On the 14th day of this emotional trial, the defense rests.
So after we finish closing arguments, then the case goes to the jury, and ultimately the case is in their hands.
Also in the jury's hands, the fate of Jordan Joplin.
You just don't know what a jury's going to do. It's excruciating to not know what's going to happen.
7 years after Dr. Eric Garcia's death, testimony in the murder trial of Jordan Joplin is over. Then, on day 3 of deliberations, jurors say they've reached a verdict.
I think the most excruciating part is when the jury has come in and we're just waiting for the words to be said.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Jordan Joplin, guilty of murder in the first degree.
Guilty of all charges. He was found guilty of murder in the first degree and theft in the first degree.
The second we got the guilty verdict, I was amazed, but elation. I'm so excited that this can't happen again to another person.
On April 9th, 2024, Jordan Joplin was brought back here to Ketchikan for sentencing. Eric Garcia's brother Saul made the roughly 6-hour flight from LA to Ketchikan, plus that ferry from the airport, just so he could deliver a victim impact statement. In your address to the court, you spoke directly to Joplin. What did you want him to hear from your mouth?
So essentially that the one person that cared for you and you just essentially gambled your life away. I mean, because you thought you could get away with it.
The court preferred the victim's statements to go first and then the state's argument? Or...
Yes, please. Just state your full name for the record. I'll be glad to hear from you.
Our hope is that the court gives the strongest consideration possible to all victims' statements today and arrives at the maximum sentence possible for Joplin.
This was intentional, significantly premeditated, brazen, craven conduct, and it calls for a significant sentence. For murder in the first degree, the sentence will be 99 years with none suspended.
I feel like justice was served. Jordan got 99 years in prison. Alaska does not allow the death penalty, so that's about the maximum that you can get.
I was pleased. It's not because I have this vengeance in my heart that he wants to pay. I don't see it that way. I was very glad that this is not going to happen to anybody else.
In Ketchikan, the love and affection for Dr. Garcia lives on in so many ways. We heard from everyone in Ketchikan how they like to remember your brother, Dr. Eric Garcia. How would you like us to remember him?
I think Eric's legacy is about compassion and caring, but he helped so many people along the way with medicine or just being friends with people and connecting with them.
At the hospital where he worked, a memorial tree planted during a beautiful ceremony, a lasting tribute to someone who was once an outsider, but was embraced by the townsfolk here as one of their own.
Part of the ceremony was everybody would pick a stone that would remind him of Eric. Love, happiness, friendliness. One by one, everybody would lay a stone in a circular fashion around the tree. Now you can see how big the tree is 7 years later.
The tree blooms every year, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to commemorate a beautiful man.
And we should point out tonight that Jordan Joplin has now filed an appeal of his conviction.
David, if his appeal is denied, the earliest he'll be eligible for parole is in the year 2050 when he'll be 64. That's our program for tonight, and here's to a great new season of 2020. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir. Incredible stories coming your way. This is just the start. From all of us at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
Investigators in Texas are hunting a killer, one who might strike again.
We went on complete lockdown. We locked our doors, we reached out to the police, we have police here, because we didn't know if he was coming here.
I was scared out of my mind.
It's a case of the cold-blooded murder of a young mother.
It's my first homicide case that I ever worked, and it's going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
He pulled back the curtain and kind of stepped out, pointed the gun at me.
The name of the suspect is known, but names can be changed.
He had lied to her about who he was, gave a false name to her.
I was like, who the hell is this? And then I was like, I'm gonna just search him on the web, see what pops up.
I told her not to mess with me, not to mess with my emotions. Detectives gather evidence until a picture of a suspect emerges. Which piece of the puzzle will reveal who is guilty of murder? What will be a killer's mistake?
Shot fired! Shot fired!
Detective Stephen LaCroix is called to a brutal crime scene in the quiet suburb of Lamarck, Houston, in Texas.
I was notified that there was a shooting in the Painted Meadows subdivision in our city, and one of the officers that responded said that her and the neighbor were providing CPR at the time they arrived. There's extreme level of danger on the way to the scene.
As Detective LaCroix pulls up, he's met with chaos outside the victim's home.
We knew that we had a victim that was shot. We knew that we had a gunman that was on the loose and still armed. We didn't know which direction he was going in or what his motive from that point on was. Lamar EMS is on scene, and I'm told that the victim is in the back of the ambulance and they were getting ready to transport her to the hospital.
The victim, identified as 30-year-old mother of two, Savannah Pascal, is clinging to life after suffering multiple gunshot wounds.
We hope Savannah pulls through from that point in time, and I don't want to speculate anything from that point because you still got to remain strong in the face of the family that's looking at fear.
At the scene, Savannah's mother, Shirley, points the finger. Her son-in-law, Trent.
Shirley, Savannah's mother, was outside in panic. She advised that Trent was in the house and that he had hid in the bathroom and came out, told Shirley and Savannah both that he was going to kill them. At that time, Shirley left or started to scream, run out the house, and she heard the shots fired. She didn't know at that time what had happened.
As police race to track down Trent Pascal, Shirley Kinchin rushes to the hospital, desperate to uncover her daughter's fate.
After some time, the doctor came in and said she had passed, that they had done everything she could.
And I was on the road, and I was about halfway home when she called me, so I pulled over, and she told me. I instantly got sick to my stomach.
I got a text. I was supposed to be with her that day. I got a text, and it wasn't real. And I didn't believe it.
While family and friends grapple with the shock, detectives intensify their hunt for Trent Pascal.
Different detectives were assigned different portions of the case. We were advised that the vehicle that he left the location in was the truck that Savannah had been driving. It was her grandfather's truck. It was actually in the name of her mother, Shirley, I believe. When we found that out, we were able to report the vehicle stolen. We were then advised that the vehicle had OnStar programming, which has the capabilities of tracking the vehicle. You just have to sit there and hope that the ones whose job that is doing everything they can to bring him back in and keep, it's not just the family safe, but everyone.
While one team of investigators hunts for Pascal, another digs deep into his relationship with Savannah, uncovering clues, collecting evidence, searching for a motive.
Savannah was beautiful. She was intelligent. She was caring and compassionate.
She was always the life of the party and out there, and anytime somebody new came around, she was the first one to run up to you and say, hey, I'm Savannah. And you didn't have a choice to meet her. She was going to meet you no matter what.
Very fun and loving and happy and very outgoing. We met when I was a freshman in high school, and we were both in band. She's the class clown, in a sense. To people who knew her, she was hilarious. You wanted to be around her.
Savannah had a very strong faith. She was very active in the church camps.
I was one who led her class when she decided she was ready to be baptized. And I lowered her into the water, raised her up. It was a spectacular day. But she was part of a group of kids that were high energy, interactive, lots of fun to be around.
She was more interested in the outcasts, the people that weren't as popular.
The underdogs.
Detectives uncover a surprising twist. Savannah's mother, a private investigator, has always been a fiercely protective force in her daughter's life.
Savannah did tease her other boyfriends that, my mom's probably already run your license plate. Are you serious? So she used to tease her boyfriends about it.
Detectives learn that Savannah's children are not both Trent's. Before meeting him, she'd been in a relationship during her college years.
She was dating a young man, and they seemed to be quite serious, and he had asked her to marry him, and they had actually bought a ring. But once she found out that she was pregnant, she told him, and he disappeared. He ghosted. He was gone. And we haven't seen him since.
I was surprised when I found she was pregnant, but what I'll say for Savannah is she was sharp enough and mature enough to recognize what she had done and her responsibility, and chose to carry that baby and raise that baby.
She was scared, but she was excited to have a kid, and so we got her prepared.
She grew up almost overnight to be a mom.
As detectives investigate Savannah's vulnerability during this time and look to rule out other potential suspects, it becomes clear that Savannah had enthusiastically embraced a career. She was becoming an independent high achiever.
She wanted to go into nursing because she wanted to care for people and take care of people and make them better. But she couldn't stand to see them suffer and die. So when she finally became aware that she was interested in the mortuary sciences, she said this was the ultimate for her because the people are already dead. If she could ease the pain or suffering of some people when they've lost their loved one, she says, I found what I need to do.
She got her job here with the funeral home.
We're here to help people in their toughest days. And that's what Savannah did, making sure that every single thing is perfect. From the way the flowers were set up in the chapel, to the register book, to that first impression when the family walks in, to the music being the right songs they selected. It's really about taking care of the families who walk through our doors to celebrate their life, but also to grieve.
Once she started working at the funeral home, she finally felt like she was doing what she wanted to do. Like she was finally on the path to happiness, like inner true happiness, and she found what she wanted to do and she loved it.
Finding contentment in her career and in motherhood, investigators uncover that it's around this time that Savannah meets Trent Pascal. It was in the local grocery store. He is 18 years her senior.
They seemed to hit it off pretty well. He seemed to treat her really well, and she reciprocated.
She loved the hell out of him.
A very polite Southern gentleman. Your first impression of Trent was just a stand-up guy.
Funny, easygoing, loving, and very charming. He was easy on the eyes. He also had that little touch of a bad boy, but he was grown up and was familiar with life, and I think that was comfortable for her.
He was very nice. You know, he presented himself nicely. So I did what I do. I got his license plate number and I ran it and did a background check because that's what I do. What I uncovered was he has a criminal history. It was mostly theft charges. At that time, you know, he did have felony. I know of at least one because I remember telling Savannah, he is a felon. That's not someone that you want to, you know, have a relationship with.
As detectives delve into Savannah and Trent's relationship, they uncover what seems to be the perfect match, until her mother reveals a criminal past of Trent Pascal. Despite this, Savannah remains convinced that he's a changed man.
He's cleaning up. He's promised me. He's going straight. He's working, you know, in construction. He's working as a subcontractor. He's making good money. He's working steady.
It's not long before Savannah and Trent Pascal take their relationship to the next level. It's in 2006 when Trent and Savannah marry, marking the start of a new chapter in their lives.
They were living together and they had told us that she was pregnant and they were having a child. And then a few months later, they came back to us and told us that Trent was going to be going to jail.
By 2008, Trent was charged with theft.
We're flabbergasted. What's going on? And of course, we were told this story. He didn't do it, but his attorney had advised him to take a plea deal because if he went to jury, they wouldn't believe him because of his past record. And so he went to jail.
Theft of some computers.
And my first thought when they told us was that he wasn't going to be there when the baby was born.
That started putting stress on their relationship. And looking back, there were a lot of things she shared that I should have paid attention to.
Detectives probing Savannah Pascal's murder learn that on his imprisonment, she remains loyal to Trent.
She believed in him. She knew his true character. She felt that he deserved to be treated and dealt with as a normal human being, just like everybody else, and people make mistakes, and she was able to forgive him, so everybody else did too.
Trent's sentence is significant.
It was maybe 8 months or so after he got out.
It is on Trent's release that he and Savannah decide to settle to a new life in Lamarck, Texas, just a few miles away from Savannah's family.
Yeah, you don't make everything so I say too.
Exactly.
She seemed very truly happy. She had a daughter with him, and they seemed to be carrying on their lives.
He was subcontracting again, but he was working for a business down in Galveston that rents out those electric scooters and electric mopeds and stuff, and he was repairing those. So it appeared that he was making money honestly.
It seemed like that they were, doing well.
Friends and family tell detectives, however, that just a few years into their marriage, Trent became resentful.
I think with the pandemic, it was a factor.
And that was one of the triggers, because he wasn't able to pull in as much money. Savannah, working in the funeral industry, she never stopped working. Her work actually increased.
During the pandemic, the amount of funerals increased, and there were a lot of days where Savannah would have to work nights. It's not an 8 to 5 job. There were many days you're here to 9 or 10 o'clock at night, making sure everything's perfect for the service the next day.
She was a team player. She said yes, and he just would get angry. He said, that's not what you agreed to.
She was not tending to his needs. He wanted her at home because laundry had to be done. The kids had to be bathed. Food had to be made. The house had to be cleaned up. And she was going to school to get her final certifications as funeral director. He was stuck at the house with the kids while she was working and going to school. He did not like that.
As the pandemic propels Savannah's career to new heights and Trent's into a downward spiral, detectives learn of the growing tensions between them. Have those tensions given Trent Pascal some sort of motive?
The money started getting tight. She's paying for school. She's also making her own money. And quite honestly, probably making more money than he was without a job. And I think that's where the jealousy started.
For investigators, Trent's mindset suggests a clear and escalating paranoia.
He was accusing her of having an affair. In his head, she's spending too much time away from home, so there has to be somebody else.
It progressively got worse.
He isolated her from everyone, all her friends.
Well, she wasn't allowed at my house. She wasn't allowed to talk to my cousin because he had flirted with her 8 years ago.
He became very controlling of her actions and where she was at all times.
He would be texting her constantly. Where y'all at? When you gonna be home?
What are you doing? Who are you with? Where are you?
Savannah Pascal's friends revealed to investigators that Trent's jealousy takes a dangerous turn.
One day we went to the nail shop, our usual place, mani-pedis, whatever, massages, and he went to Galveston, and I said, well, I'll be bringing her back as soon as we're done. He was back sitting in the parking lot blowing up her phone, waiting on her to come out. She had GPS thing on her phone, so he was watching it to see where she was, even when she was moving around.
But the next thing that he did at their house was installed a security system with cameras on every corner.
He had multiple cameras, multiple angles. You could see the backyard, you could see the front yard, coming, going, up the street, down the street.
And it just kind of spiraled from there.
Pascal returns to his former criminal ways.
He had gotten into stealing. Savannah knew, and I don't know how she found out about it. She just said that something popped up. And I was like, what do you mean something popped up? And she said, on Trent's record. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, he got arrested, he stole a car.
Well, it turned out that he was stealing cars and selling them and getting money for it.
At that point, she decided that it was enough. She told him, I can't live like this anymore. You aren't going to put our family through this.
Me and the kids are not going to live like this. We're not going to raise our children in a criminal environment.
And he did not. He did not like that.
While investigating the growing tension between Savannah and Trent Pascal, detectives learned from friends that Savannah drew the line when Trent began committing offences, refusing to support him any further.
She was ready to leave. She had spoken to Mike and Shirley, and she said, I'm going to do this now. And I told her, okay, well, let's do it. And what they tell you not to do when you're getting out of a domestic abuse situation is to let the person know that you're planning on leaving.
On October 21st, Pascal records a video. I knew she was kind of too young, but she's been playing me for a fool. I told her not to mess with me, not to mess with my emotions, don't play with me. Detectives learn that he and Savannah have been arguing that day.
She called me and said, Mom, it's really bad. It's really bad. I need you to come. Apparently Trent confronted her about having an affair. She said she didn't, and he said he had a gun with a bullet for her.
I put everything into this relationship. I have done nothing to your mom.
I told her not to go in the house. I said, I'm on my way. When I got to the house, her and Trent were in the yard arguing.
And the police were called?
And pull up. They separated them. They said, well, what we can do is we can ask him to leave, pack a bag and leave, for 24 hours till everybody calms down. And so that's what they did. She said, I need to call the school about the kids. She said, because when we fought before, when he went and got the kids out of school and didn't tell me. And so she called the school. They said she had to come to the school and sign some papers, basically, so if he showed up, they would notify her. So her and I left to go to the school, and we drove back to the house. My car was in the driveway.
Savannah had given me a call and just kind of give me a lowdown on what was going on, that Trent was angry and, that her mom was there and she was going to go inside to get ready for work. And we hung up.
We went in the house and she directly went to the video camera, the screen. And I asked her, I said, what are you doing? And she says, I'm looking to see if he came back. And we had planned that she was going to go back to work and that I was going to go and take care of business and meet back at her house. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to go to the restroom. And I walked into the restroom.
Shirley said he was hiding in the shower or the tub and ambushed them both.
He pulled back the curtain and kind of stepped out, pointed the gun at me, and said, I'm going to kill you both. Well, when he stepped out, he was right here. So I just pushed the door and with all my might, and he pushed him out. And then we were fighting. Just I was pushing, he was pushing. And I was just screaming at him to stop, please stop. And all of a sudden it got quiet. And then I heard Savannah scream, and I heard a gunshot.
Where do you think they're going? At that time, Shirley left or started to scream, run out the house, and she heard the shots fired. She ran to the neighbor's house to get help.
And I ran 2 doors down where a state trooper lived, and I just started beating on the door, yelling, help, help, he shot her. He answered the door. He had his weapon. He stepped around the corner, and as he stepped around the corner, we saw and heard Trent peel out down the street in the truck. And, of course, they called 911.
While one team of detectives have pieced together facts around the shooting, another has launched a manhunt to track down Trent Pascal. As he flees, Savannah's friends and family are forced into lockdown, fearing what he might do next.
We didn't know where Trent was. I immediately thought that Trent could be coming to our house. I was scared out of my mind.
We went on complete lockdown. We locked our doors because we didn't know if he was coming here. We didn't know what his mission was.
I asked him to call me, and he said, I can't run now. And his response was, is she dead? And I said, Trent, for the love of the kids, turn yourself in. He cut me off at that point. He didn't say nothing else. Wouldn't answer the phone when I called.
While Pascal ignores some calls, he does connect with one person.
We were alerted by a family member, was Sharon Glenn, the Savannah's aunt. She said that Trent called her.
She was on the phone with him, and I do know that she had the wherewithal to start recording the conversation.
He stated in that phone call that he had killed Savannah. And I would say it was our smoking gun in this case.
Investigators then make a chilling discovery of the video that he recorded just minutes before shooting Savannah. He'd posted it on YouTube.
I'm recording this because I want my daughter to know that I love you, Pascal. I'm so sorry that I've done this. I want you to know that you mean everything to me. And I love you too. I love you so much. I love you like you're my own. I didn't choose this. Your mom chose this. She's been cheating on me for a long time.
The YouTube video Pascal has made, confessing to the murder of his wife, is shared amongst family and friends.
I pulled it up and watched it. It was like the life just poured out of me. I saw Trent, who I knew absolutely to my core was Trent, telling him that he had to do what he had to do because Savannah had brought it on herself. And it was just devastating.
I told her not to mess with me, not to mess with my emotions. I got an audio where she was calling a guy yesterday, and she started talking about a dream and everything, and she had with him too about sex. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm like, why me? My hair's a mess and I look horrible. Oh, sorry. Take these off. I'm so sorry. I don't have better words right now. I'm hurting so bad.
When he was making the video, he was sitting in the living room and he was looking to see when the vehicle drove into the driveway. And from that time, when the vehicle drove in, that's when he got up, ran to the restroom. Well, Savannah was on a phone call in the truck that lasted for about 12 minutes. And so he hid in the bathroom for 12 minutes.
As the manhunt intensifies, Detective LaCroix gets a crucial lead from the vehicle that Trent used to flee the crime.
The truck that he left in was my father's truck. It had OnStar, and they could find out where the truck was and shut it off, remotely.
Police track Pascal's getaway vehicle to a Walmart 40 miles away.
So apparently there's people involved in a murder in Lamar.
You looked at it?
I looked inside, didn't touch anything.
7226 no north. Suspect is a known suspect.
At that time, it's my understanding that Harris County Sheriff's deputies initiated a traffic stop on that vehicle, and Trent exited the vehicle with a firearm in hand and pointed it at the officers.
Stop! Let me see your hands!
It made it clear and evident that he had no intentions of trying to be served justice in jail.
He did pull the gun on the Harris County Sheriffs, and they shot him.
Police are forced to open fire as they move in to arrest Trent Pascal.
Stop! Let me see your hands!
He was struck multiple times or had multiple wounds from the gunshots.
Lay on your stomach and put your hands out!
He survived the shooting.
He almost got me, bro.
Oh, him?
Yeah.
You got a rider? Okay, let's go. All right, Trent. What happened, man? Wife was chasing him. I shot him. Okay. And I ran out of bullets, so I tried to shoot myself, and I ran out of bullets.
He's been charged with first-degree premeditated murder, assault, and felony possession of a gun.
He was essentially brought to justice, but ultimately bonded out.
While awaiting trial, Trent is placed on house arrest and ordered to wear an ankle monitor, but he's free.
It's disappointing. You expect to have someone who acted in malice and had no regard for his wife, the mother of his children's life, and here he is able to be free and live. The family kept in touch with me often. They said, we're scared. We don't know where he's at. We have his children, their grandchildren, and we don't know what his intentions are of, seeing them or getting them back.
On April 13th, 2021, 6 months after Savannah's murder, her family's worst fears come true when Pascal skips bail in a violent and dramatic escape.
He went to Harris County, and he went to a car dealership and test drove a SUV. And when they stopped to get gas for it, he pulled a knife on the employee, the salesman, and told him to get out of the vehicle, and he took off.
And that's when a warrant was issued for his arrest by the U.S. Marshals.
At that point, he's committed an aggravated robbery. The bonds were revoked, and the warrants were assigned. At that point, the chase is on. I think everyone was scared of him. I don't think anyone was immune from feeling that at this time that they weren't going to be next. He's done snapped, went off, and now who's next?
We're watching our backs constantly.
I'm getting phone calls from everybody. Trent's been spotted in Galveston. We jump in the car and we head to Galveston. We check everything there, nothing. A day later, we get a call. He's in Los Angeles, California. We get people out there. We confirm that's not him. We're constantly everywhere. Anytime that something comes up, we're on it. We thought that he was at the Mexico border. We packed up, jumped in our cars. We headed down there. It just turned out that wasn't it. So again, we went back to our drawing board. We erased it, and we started over.
As Marshall Hunt chases down every possible lead, Pascal's ability to evade capture only prolongs the heartache for Savannah's grieving family.
He was in custody 3 separate times after assaulting Shirley and killing our daughter. Behind bars 3 times and legally bonded out, with them knowing that he was up on murder charges, assault charges on her, assault on a police officer, felony possession of a gun, had fled the scene, crossed county lines, and they saw fit to bond him out and legally release him 3 separate times.
Pascal remains on the run for 8 months until a shocking phone call to police in Texas.
It's late, and a lady says to me, she says, I'm from Texas. I'm getting cold chills thinking about the phone call because she says, I have been dating.
8 months into a nationwide manhunt for Trent Pascal, wanted for the murder of his wife Savannah, U.S. Marshals receive an unexpected tip from a woman claiming to be in a romantic relationship with Trent Pascal.
We met at the Schoolie Swarm, which was in Missouri. Just kind of like magnetized to each other pretty easily. I've been hanging up with him for a while and I don't get any red flags. I mean, he's charming, super charming. And he's pretty laid back and chill, just cruising along with life like I am.
He was going by a different name and gotten into a hippie, gypsy kind of movement where everybody lived in vans and lived in older RVs and they kind of just were free-spirited and, you know, just traveled together. He's just going on with his life. Nobody asked questions.
He told me that he's from California, that his ex-wife had cheated on him. 2 years ago, they had broken up. So he was always staying in his SUV. So he just learned that he really liked the nomadic life, and that's how he got into the nomadic living.
And so this young lady that had no idea who he was and tells me that her RV had broke down and that she was sleeping in Trent's van, which was stolen.
For months, Pascal hides in plain sight under the alias Trevor, living with Catherine at a recreation vehicle resort in Ocala, Florida.
He has a shower bag that he completely keeps beside him when he drives. It's like right there. And he always has a gun in it. And in Texas especially, that's normal to have guns. Like, it's not abnormal. And I looked in it to see if the gun was there to make sure, you know, I put it away so the kids don't get to it. Then I see his Texas driver's license. And right behind it was a food stamp card that had his name on it also, the Trent Pascal. So I was like, who the hell is this? And then I was like, I'm going to just search him on just the web, see what pops up. And he popped up everywhere. And the first thing I saw was U.S. Marshals and his photo. And I started finding out more information about murdered wife and about the video that he had put on YouTube. I came across Savannah's memorial page on Facebook. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was super scared that he would know that I knew.
The wanted poster had my number on it. And so she had called me. That was like, wow. She was there with this guy. Put it all in it just so quick.
Seemingly at ease with his new love and life, has Pascal made a killer's mistake? Deputies from the Marion County Sheriff's Office rushed to his location, determined to take Pascal into custody.
Trent, this is the Marion County Sheriff's Office. We can work this out. I just need you to come out of the sliding door on the passenger side of the vehicle, showing us your hand.
It was New Year's Eve night at midnight, so there was a lot of fireworks going off at the time. And there was a marshal who was with us in the cop car. And I overheard everything going on the dispatch, on his uniform. And all of a sudden I heard a pop, and it didn't sound like fireworks.
Sound like you heard gunshots? One gunshot and then him falling. Where's Kendrick? Right over there. Yeah, but there's a gun right there. See it? Yeah, he's definitely gone. Follow.
So I received the call, it was around 2:30 in the morning, that Trent had shot himself in Florida after deputies from the area that he was in tried to make contact with him. I was a little in shock at that time.
Lima 3379 26.
He's 1012.
My phone buzzes. And it was the detective in Lamar. And it just says, we got him. oh my God, and Shirley's going, what? And I said, Detective LaCroix says, they've got him. I said, you got him, where is he? Well, he's in the morgue. I said, what? What happened? She said, he killed himself.
A lot of things are going through my mind at this time. Like, that's not the ending that we wanted. But the first thing that came to my mind is that the family has some sort of closure. The family will go to bed that night, will be able to sleep in peace that they are not in harm's way anymore.
I wanted him to have justice. I wanted him to face her parents in court and spend his life in prison. But then I'm grateful that her parents and her family don't have to go through trial in court because he was in prison before and got out. And so who would have said that he wouldn't get out again?
Not having her here every day, it's a struggle. She was my best friend. We talked almost every day. We hung out at least once a week. I lost my mom about a year before I lost Savannah, and Savannah completely got me through that. So losing Savannah it was my second best friend. I felt alone. He took my best friend from me.
I would hope that anyone who is in a relationship with someone who is controlling and restricting realize where they are and get out of there. We have to, all of us, work better to provide safe exit pathways for people who are in those relationships.
We want people to know that there are resources for them. And it doesn't have to, get as bad because, she waited. She thought she could handle it, and it cost her her life.
Investigators pieced together what finally exposed the killer. His ultimate mistake, leaving behind a bath bag, which revealed his deceit.
She was from Texas, and that she knew what a Texas ID looked like and knew it was legitimate.
She digs through the bag and she's able to Google and pops up all the news channels.
His new identity was fake, and his carelessness in leaving behind the bath bag ultimately proved to be a killer's mistake. In Texas, several young women have vanished without trace, only to later be found murdered in chillingly disturbing ways.
We're not talking about someone walking in the dark, after hours. We're talking about the middle of the day.
The method of their murder suggests a psychopath is on the loose.
He seemed to take pride, a sick kind of pride in his killing and in his technique with the turn.
As the tourniquet killer grips the headlines, detectives race against time to unmask the predator haunting the community. Every lead slips through their fingers.
The master of lying and secrets and disguises.
When an unassuming telephone repairman is brought in for questioning about an unrelated crime, will a chilling discovery turn the investigation on its head?
He had to submit DNA as a result of now being a convicted sex offender.
Science, like DNA, has revolutionized criminal justice in my lifetime.
I didn't set out to kill her. That was not my intent.
Detectives piece together the evidence, slowly uncovering the face of a suspect. Which clue will expose the truth? What will be a killer's mistake? in Houston, Texas, receive a report that 9-year-old Diana Rabola is missing. She's last seen at a grocery store just a few blocks from her home in Houston Heights. Andy Kahn, collaborating with the Houston Police Department, is urgently brought in to serve as the critical link between law enforcement and a deeply concerned family.
I was involved almost immediately with the Diana Rabola case. And here's somebody's just walking down the street, buying a few items to take home for a family dinner. And boom.
2 days later, Diana's body is discovered on the loading dock of an abandoned building.
She was sexually assaulted, beaten, and then strangled.
She is found laying face up, a tourniquet wrapped tightly around her neck.
It's just unconscionable that someone can do this to a 9-year-old in the middle of the day. We're not talking about some isolated area. This is a populated part of the town. That's pretty brazen.
Detectives have encountered this chilling method of killing before. Diana's brutal murder bears an unsettling resemblance to another recent homicide. 2 years earlier, police discovered the body of 21-year-old Maria del Carmen Estrada in a parking lot behind a Dairy Queen in the Spring Branch neighborhood of Houston.
Maria was, a hard worker, trying to help her family, just taking public transportation to and from her work and just helping her family just go about life. And here she was again, vulnerable, by herself, no one else around, seizing that opportunity. The killer abducts her, rapes her, kills her in excruciating slow fashion, and then dumps her.
Like Diana, Maria is found with a handmade tourniquet wrapped around her neck. District Attorney Kim Ogg is an assistant prosecutor in Harris County at the time. She's tasked with analyzing critical crime scene evidence.
When I'd worked in the Special Crimes Division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, there were a series of crimes involving a signature mark, a tourniquet, left on the bodies, which came across my desk. They were brought by homicide investigators who were working the cases, trying to figure out the whodunit.
The similarities between Diana and Maria, the time between deaths, and the method of murder lead investigators to fear they may be dealing with a serial killer.
The tourniquet takes your fingers off the pulse, literally, but it gave the killer the ability to turn life on and off.
He had a profile. We see that he's attacking younger Hispanic women, young girls.
This is so methodically calculated as to how he picked his victims. These were young girls from the ages of 9 to 21, not doing anything wrong.
Who is responsible? Police need to build a profile of the killer. They focus on the locations of his attacks, centered in those Houston neighborhoods increasingly home to Latin American immigrants.
The neighborhoods in Houston were changing in the late 80s and 90s. They were going dramatically downhill in certain areas. Part of it was we had an immigrant population, very low on the socioeconomic scale, many times, many of them not citizens of the country, and so that created an opportunity for a serial killer who is looking for people who he could grab, rape, kill, and who might not be missed.
The one common denominator his victims had, besides being young, were they were by themselves. And little did they know that how vulnerable that made them to a sadistic predator.
I felt like it was only a matter of time before the next body would show up. That gumshoe detective work was applied.
They were able to extract DNA from Maria Estrada's fingernails.
Could DNA found under Maria's fingertips be a killer's mistake? In 1992, CODIS, a combined DNA index system that links profiles across jurisdictions in different parts of the United States, is still in its infancy. No connections are found.
There was no general testing of DNA.
You had problems in crime labs and all sorts of Murphy's Law was going on with so many different entities as far as getting a match.
Investigators carefully preserve the DNA found under Maria's fingernails, knowing forensic science and databases are advancing rapidly. They hold on to the evidence, hoping for the day that her killer slips up and reveals his identity.
Looking for a serial murder was like looking for a needle in a haystack. And so the DNA evidence was collected.
Detectives believe the killer has a clear profile for his victims. Now they're building one for him, knowing that to catch him, they must first understand him.
The way he would kill his victims shows you his true colors and his insatiable need to seek attention.
I think a master of lying and secrets and disguises and things that covered his trail.
Dr. Judy Ho, a renowned forensic neuropsychologist, highlights the critical importance of building a psychological profile to unmask the killer.
I think that there was a couple of components to this. One is very poor impulse control, so he just did whatever he felt like. But the other piece of it is that he probably derived some kind of sick joy from dominating people who were vulnerable. Notice that he doesn't necessarily dominate people who were his size. He's not picking on people who were his own size. And so he's looking for victims that he would clearly be declared the winner. It was rigged from the start.
Without any other objective evidence, police might never have been able to find the correct killer.
Investigators need forensic evidence, but the science and database technology isn't advanced enough to deliver results. Police receive a call about a missing teenager, Dana Sanchez. She is last seen leaving her home, only to vanish without trace.
Again, 16-year-old teenager, middle of the day, minding her own business, not doing anything wrong, not doing anything illegal, just doing what teenage girls do, you know?
A week goes by with no leads in Dana's disappearance, until a local news station receives an anonymous call from someone claiming to be her killer.
He has the audacity to contact a local news station and tip them off as to where the body could be found, just so he can make sure that he got credit for the latest murder in his own mind. That's mine.
The caller claims to be Dana Sanchez's killer.
He basically was telling the media that, yeah, there's a serial killer roaming loose out there, killing young girls, and you need to be aware of that.
When a local news station in Houston receives an anonymous call from a person who claims that he's a serial killer, police have to take it seriously.
To contact a local news station and tip them off as to where the body could be found. You can actually visualize him at home in front of the television waiting for the local news to capture the story of what he did, and him just salivating.
Looking for any clue in their search for 16-year-old Dana Sanchez, police arrive at a barren field on the outskirts of the city, and Dana's lifeless body lies sprawled, decomposing in the dirt.
She was tortured and just dumped like the rest of them. Someone that can do that without any care in the world and just leave her out there just to rot. It's about the lowest of the low you could possibly imagine of a life form in this universe.
Still wrapped around Dana Sanchez's neck is the murder weapon, a tourniquet.
Dana Sanchez was a bit older, 16 years old. The MO is the same, he strangled her. We don't know much more else. We can assume she was probably sexually assaulted. What we do know is that a victim profile, for sure, has emerged.
The third young Hispanic woman strangled with a tourniquet in 3 years confirms investigators' fears. The suspected killer's call to a local news station leaves detectives fearing they're being lured into a dangerous game of cat and mouse.
He seemed to take pride, a sick kind of pride in his killing and in his technique with the tourniquet. It worked for him. It was his signature. And it distinguished him from other individuals who kill people with their bare hands.
Investigators have 3 victims, each with the murder weapon left at the scene. With no other clues to identify the killer, the case captures national attention. The media dubs the unknown predator the tourniquet killer, thrusting him into the spotlight.
Notoriety and fame that serial killers want and then ultimately achieve, and then all of a sudden, you're a household name, your name's in the paper, your name's on the news. He so desperately wanted that.
The ensuing media frenzy may have been just what wanted, but the pressure is on police to catch the killer.
Nobody can find anything.
For 3 years, police strive to make gains in identifying the tourniquet killer. They analyze the anonymous call made to the local news station. They look for further links between cases and meticulously gather forensic evidence. When a local telephone repairman is questioned by police for an unrelated crime, detectives see no reason to suspect a link to the elusive tourniquet killer.
Here's the guy that worked for the phone company, telephone company, Southwestern Bell, as the repairman.
Maybe you wouldn't suspect a family man that seemed happy in his marriage and in his family life.
His name is Anthony Shaw, and he is suspected of committing an horrific crime.
All of a sudden, Anthony Shaw does a despicable act when he sexually abuses and assaults his 2 young daughters. They make an outcry. He's arrested.
He raped his daughters, and his daughters' outcry spurred his arrest.
The repairman accused of sexually abusing his own children is 36-year-old Anthony Shaw. Investigators who are hopeful of convicting him for crimes against his own children search for any evidence from his past, what had made him such a monster.
A few things stand out for me about Shaw's early life, right? He's very precocious. He's already sort of making, 4 or 5-year-old what could be construed as sexual advances towards these little girls.
One of the biggest red flags was that you actually torture animals at a young age. It shows a level of lack of empathy, lack of emotionality.
There was something going on with his sister as well, okay? Apparently he had stabbed her in the head with a screwdriver, and we know again also from later reports that she didn't seem to be very empathetic towards him as well. Shaw used his sister to lure girls in the neighborhood back to, his house, or to grope them, to kiss them.
I think he instilled fear in his own sisters. And I think there was a part of his sisters that probably feared for themselves. They didn't do what he asked. And even though they knew that this couldn't lead to anything good, they were manipulated by him. And they were doing so possibly out of their own self-protection.
While investigating Shaw for sexual abuse of his own children, detectives hear from friends and neighbors that he appeared ordinary.
For a while, Shaw had a normal life. In addition to working at a regular job during the day, in the evening he performed the piano. So he was, he was known amongst people who went and attended live music functions as well. There's some people that worked for the phone company astonished, and they were dumbfounded. He said, "I worked with him. I know him. I went to lunch with Anthony. Sure. I can't believe that's him. He was so nice, such a normal guy."
Anthony Shaw seemed like a happily married man.
I do have to wonder about the true nature of that relationship. Did he really get married because he had genuine affection for this person, or was she basically used as a pawn in his game?
That's part of the facade that they try to maintain. That's kind of like their Jekyll and Hyde ego that they like to have. Is there some sort of normalcy where no one suspects anything?
We could see that from when Anthony was a child, from the torturing and killing of innocent animals to putting a screwdriver through his sister's head. So sadly, it's no surprise that he would definitely abuse his own family members as well.
It takes investigators 1 year to build a case against Shaw for the abuse of his own daughters.
So Anthony Shaw is convicted in 1988 of molesting his 2 daughters.
He's put on probation like many sex offenders are, particularly on your first offense, so that's not a surprise. He was put on probation. But the catch was he had to submit DNA as a result of now being a convicted sex offender.
When detectives confirm a match, they are stunned to discover that the assault on his family was just one piece of Shaw's larger web of horrific crimes.
And this is the turning point of the case.
"5 years after his conviction for the abuse of his own daughters, the combined DNA index system, CODIS, established by the FBI, allows law enforcement agencies to share and compare DNA profiles across jurisdictions.
Because laws had changed and DNA samples could and were taken from individuals charged with certain crimes, his sample was entered into CODIS, the national system for matching DNA to known individuals or unknown individuals.
When detectives check Anthony Shaw's DNA against unsolved crimes on the CODIS network, it reveals a match they've been looking for 8 years.
The DNA was then ultimately matched from Estrada's fingernails.
6 years into an 8-year sentence of probation for indecency with a child, and 11 years since Maria del Carmen Estrada's murder, investigators in Houston arrest telephone repairman Anthony Shaw.
There wasn't anything to link him with the murders until you were able to run his DNA.
Police are confident that whoever killed Maria del Carmen Estrada is also responsible for killing Diana Rabola and Dana Sanchez. But with no DNA available from the scene of those crimes, detectives decide to confront Anthony Shaw in an interview. Detectives gear up for a high-stakes showdown and interrogation, hoping it will be the key to breaking the case wide open. As the interview begins, Shaw sits down and calmly presents his version of events, while the officers tread carefully, uncertain of what lies ahead.
I ran across this really beautiful young lady. River ride. She got me down. She was on my way to work every morning.
Shaw initially admits to officers that he did meet Maria del Carmen Estrada on the day that she went missing.
And one day it was misting rain. She saw me, asked me for a ride. It was going places. She was talking about, yeah, she wanted to go out. Well, we pulled in. We had a Dairy Queen. You know, Rusty? Yeah, all that's good. But someone up there, he was amenable to a kiss.
Listening to Shore recount these events, I don't hear the self-absorbed narcissist that people might attribute to him. I hear someone telling a story, very matter-of-factly, right? It lacks empathy, right? But it's not embellished.
When I pushed her further, I got out of hand. Remember, I opened her glass and she was resisting. When I just take consumption, not like voices in my head, but just driven. And I was going to have her regardless. I don't know what the hell you call it. I've tried to understand this, but I wanted to possess her somehow. She became real violent, just fighting, wanting to get out of the car.
Detectives brace themselves as Anthony Shaw begins to talk, and then talk some more. What he says next will change the entire course of the investigation.
I didn't set out to kill her. That was not my intent. But it got out of hand. I strangled her.
Detectives are stunned by Shaw's chilling honesty. The interview takes a dramatic turn as he begins what appears to be a confession, claiming he strangled Maria del Carmen Estrada.
When he was interviewed by law enforcement, there did seem to be a desire to clear his conscience.
Officers, keeping calm as Shaw confesses to murder, are blindsided by a new revelation. In 1993, 14-year-old Selma, a name used as a pseudonym to protect her identity, suffers a brutal attack. Is another mystery about to be solved?
I'm guessing she was probably 16, 17 at the time. I'm not really sure how old. She was young, she was attractive. She was a latchkey kid coming home from high school or whatever school she was going to. So I had broken into the house, which means that the door was unlocked, and I waited for her to get there.
So the living rape victim was a young person whose house he surveilled for several days. Shore was a telephone lineman. He had access to every neighborhood in Houston.
You can basically spy on so many different people throughout the day.
He had a reason to be there. He had a marked vehicle. It made it totally easy for him to just look for victims and exercise his demon.
And I wanted to prove to myself that I didn't have to take a life and tie her up with electrical cord and raped her.
I didn't know of her existence when I worked on Deanna's case and on Carmen's case in the early 90s until he admitted to them a decade later, after he was already caught and his DNA identified and matched.
Shaw holds back from taking Selma's life, but he confesses to detectives his insatiable urge to kill will ultimately become unstoppable.
Strangely, she fought like hell. I just wouldn't go along with anything.
The details he provides about the targeting of 9-year-old Diana Rabola are devastating.
And she was so afraid, I'm sure, that I don't recall what type of cord or strand or piece of wire or something. And I did the same thing. I noticed, and I don't know why. It kept happening. Couldn't stop it.
I think Anthony Shore wants to be a paradox to the country. Yet on one hand, he wants credit for these brutal rapes and murders and anything else he wants to. Yet at the same time, he wants everybody to know how sorry he was and please ask for my forgiveness and so forth. You know what? That day's long gone. You blew that.
For detectives tasked with proving the case against him, Shaw's confessions are a treasure trove, and he's far from finished. As he keeps talking, he unveils chilling details about how he crossed paths with Dana Sanchez in 1995.
I was making a corner at the cemetery. It's left ahead. She says, man, I'm going to see my boyfriend somewhere. I forget where she told me. I said, no problem. I'll jump right in.
He's going to younger girls to comfort himself, okay? If he starts actually now talking to this girl and confiding in her, it's probably because he knows that older women would think him strange, right? Younger girl is going to listen.
I was flirting with her heavily. At the time I had really long hair. She was jokingly, no, I got a boyfriend, this and that. So I grabbed her, pulled her into the back of the van. I knew there was nothing I could do to get out of this. And I used a ligature. In the oiler. I want to say it was a yellow, twisted nylon rope, but I don't remember for sure.
The profile of Shore's victim resembles very much the little girls he used to entice over to his house vis-a-vis his sister. Shore is on his way back to childhood.
I pulled her out into a field and left like a bat out of hell, scared to death.
Do you know how her body got found?
Yes, I did.
With
an anonymous phone call.
And who made the phone call?
I did.
Shaw admits the anonymous tip that led investigators to Dana Sanchez's body came from Shaw himself.
And when Dana's not found, I guess, I gotta get some sort of attention. Someone's got to know about it. Anthony Shore, obviously was in tune with the news of what he had done, and evidently, since nobody knew, particularly the media, nobody was broadcasting to the world, particularly local news, wasn't telling anybody about the latest murder. He certainly wanted credit, wanted to be known.
In Texas, full disclosure can lead to plea deals, even in cases involving serial killers. If Shaw is trying to avoid death row, his chilling arrogance suggests he won't succeed. He seems to take a twisted pride in recounting his crimes. He then delivers yet another shocking revelation.
Anthony had another victim.
It's unfathomable what happened to her, and she was the first.
She started freaking out, and I begged her. I said, please stop. Let me just give you a ride. She was like, no. I freaked out. I don't know what came over me.
Anthony Shaw reveals that 6 years before killing Maria del Carmen Estrada, there's another victim.
Lori's case was in 1986.
Lori's 14 years old. I mean, think about your children who are 14 years old. I mean, it's unfathomable what happened to her.
Lori Tremblay was full of life, bright, happy, deeply loved, but oblivious to the danger that she faced if coming into contact with Anthony Shaw.
Lori was walking to school, doing what thousands and millions of youngsters do every day.
One morning, this girl comes up and asks me for a cigarette while I was at the stoplight. I asked if she needed a ride, and I gave her a ride. And a couple days went by. She saw me. I gave her a ride again to school. She and I became involved just in the sense of kissing. Hello, goodbye. I started giving her a ride on a semi-regular basis.
He keeps returning and develops this very strange relationship with a much younger girl, which is not outside his modus operandi if you consider his daughters, and starts to confide in her, right? And she listens to him. He decides to up the ante, and wants to kiss, wants to take it further.
And one day it was misting rain. She saw me, asked me for a ride, and I wanted to get more involved than just the kissing and stuff. And undid her bra. Everything got out of hand. She freaked out, and we got into a fight.
As Shaw speaks, the revelations come thick and fast. Details that would have stayed hidden if not for the DNA breakthrough that shattered the case wide open. The officers listen intently, piecing together the chilling truth that he's finally laying bare.
This one freaked out, threatened to tell, and that was the stress. That needed that, unempathetic, low impulse. Everything was just on super drive.
I tried to knock her out because I just really freaked out. It's not right. I'm not justifying it. It's hard to talk about. I could just cut the cord, and I tried to make sure that she would never ever tell anybody, even though I knew that was insane.
He tells investigators he didn't use his signature tourniquet on Lori. He says that his trademark killing method was adopted after an accident during her murder.
So Shore changes his MO and uses this tourniquet because he claims that he injured his finger while murdering Lori Lee Tremblay with his own bare hands.
Shaw claims to have callously dumped Lori's body behind a Mexican restaurant before returning to work, and that same evening, he performs piano at a local jazz club.
That's how serial killers operate. They blend in, so they remain anonymous, so they don't tip off that there's anything wrong with them.
If detectives accept Shaw's claims of full disclosure, Lori Tremblay emerges as his first murder victim.
Six to 7 years pass between his rape and strangulation of Lori Lee Tremblay in 1986 and his rape and strangulation of Maria Carmen Estrada in 1992. This is suggestive of that cooling off period that the FBI developed many years ago, right? Serial killers, 2 to 3 victims, at least over a period of time with a cooling off period.
Investigators' research tells them many serial killers follow a pattern known as the killing cycle, which typically progresses through 7 distinct phases.
In the first phase, there's this aura phase where you start to withdraw from society. And then you begin to troll your victim, right? We're all familiar with that term now, thanks to social media. Then there's this flirting phase, phase 3. Phase 4 is when you capture the victim. Phase 5 is when you murder them. 6 is when you take something up there as a totem or a trophy, which I prefer. And then 7 is depression. 7 is what, so this 6-year period, he is undergoing some sort of catharsis, some sort of chrysalis phase. And he's going to come back with a vengeance.
Despite Shaw confessing to 4 murders and a sexual assault, he has not been tried. Detectives focus on charging him with Maria del Carmen Estrada's killing, backed by the strongest forensic evidence. Held without bail, investigators intensify their efforts to verify his chilling claims.
Just going through the evidence, working hard, interviewing people.
Investigators build a case based on DNA evidence. Shore's confessions, and the modus operandi of the tourniquet killer. In October 2004, Shore appears at the District Court of Harris County, charged with the murders of Lori Tremblay, Maria del Carmen Estrada, Diana Rabola, and Dana Sanchez. He pleads guilty.
Sometimes we do see, on very rare occasions, somebody who truly feels like they are born evil, and I believe that that's Anthony.
In hindsight, we see red flags at a very early age. The starting of a recipe for a serial killer.
On November 15th, 2004, a jury sentences Anthony Shore to death by execution.
The people whose children and family members were murdered are broken from the crimes of Anthony Shore. And there's really nothing that we in the system can do to fix what happened to them. But I do believe that by finishing the case and asking that the sentence be carried out, that at least they can move on. And there are no future dates for them to have to worry about. No more court appearances, no last-minute appeals. It's finally over for the justice system. Of course, the pain that's caused those victims is never over.
District Attorney Kim Ogg becomes responsible for scheduling Shore's execution.
When I became the Harris County District Attorney, my prior relationship with Anthony Shore, our paths crossed again all these years later. And it became my duty to schedule executions of people who had already received the death penalty. Shore's name was on the list. And because of the age of the case, the overwhelming evidence, the fact that I knew Shore's work, I felt it was appropriate that he be the next in line for execution.
But as his execution date looms, Cowboy Shore delivers yet another shocking confession that leaves investigators reeling.
He comes forward with these 11th hour confessions to buy himself time. Could have been seeking to extend his own life. He bragged about up to, I think, 60 additional rapes.
I learned that there were, according to him, many other rape victims. We've only learned that as his death date approached. And that he considered it an accomplishment to be able to rape women without murdering them. And so he confessed to a number of alleged rapes that he said he committed on women that he met in social settings or bars, where he would slip them Rohypnol, the date rape drug, take them to his van, rape them, sometimes sell them to others, and then deliver them back, supposedly without them knowing what had happened to them.
Where I knew we weren't through with him. So it wasn't surprising to me that after he was executed, all of a sudden we find out he was claiming 60 some odd sexual assaults, rapes, and any other horrific offenses.
Law enforcement will look at the claims that he made, and we'll go back and look for old cases. I would hope that anyone watching this who came into contact with Shore and who felt like they might have been violated, whether the statutes run or not, whether it was ever reported, I hope they'll let law enforcement know.
On January 18th, 2018, 55-year-old Anthony Shore is executed by lethal injection.
I don't think we're ever going to know what was going through Anthony Shore's mind at the time of his death, but I don't see how it couldn't have been the faces of his victims.
I can tell you from being up in Huntsville the day of the execution with the victims' families, unequivocally, Anthony Allen Shore's reign of terror ended that day for them, and justice was carried out.
We're rethinking the death penalty all over America. I think Americans are evolving in the way we look at it. I know that I am. But when you look at a guy like Anthony Shore, in my 30 years, he is the worst of the worst. And as long as the law exists, unfortunately, there are going to be individuals like Shore. But he earned his way to the top of the list on Texas's death row.
There's a reason we have the death penalty in the state of Texas. And Anthony Allen Shore is numero uno why we have it.
Well, there's a lot we can learn from Anthony Shore. In looking at people, we can't tell. No one can tell who's a murderer and who's not. I think that we have to support science and technology in and applied to criminal justice. We should never get away from the basics as law enforcement and prosecutors, but that science, like DNA, has revolutionized criminal justice in my lifetime.
I vividly will never forget Anthony Allen Shore and the murders of Maria, Dana, Diana, and Lori. I think if anything you're going to take away from this is never assume if you're out walking by yourself that you're not going to be targeted or you're not going to be a victim. Because like it or not, there's Anthony Allen Shores walking and living amongst us today. That's the sad reality. They are your next door neighbors, they're your coworkers, they're your friends, your business partners, people you recreate with, people you go out to dinner with. You just don't know. And he's living proof of that.
When Anthony Shaw claimed the lives of his victims, he believed his crimes would remain buried in the shadows, beyond the reach of justice. But what Shaw didn't count on were the leaps in science and forensic technology that would one day catch up with him.
His daughter's outcry spurred his arrest, which led to the DNA sample being taken from him because he was convicted. And when his sample was entered into the CODIS database, it matched.
What he did to his two daughters ends up solving the murders of the 4 young girls, because if he hadn't committed those atrocities, the abuses on his daughters, who knows if it would ever have been solved.
Leaving a trail of forensic evidence that connected his horrific crimes against his children to a series of murders was a killer's mistake.